Hi guys, we're going to have a little look at some cloud performance database monitoring with DBS, Database Scout. Let me just log in. Okay, what we're going to use for aggregated performance monitoring, we have a dashboard I've set up called CloudWatch. This is a mixture of Oracle Standard Edition and Postgres databases, all being monitored in the same way. We just use a simple traffic light system, so we can see from this dashboard if we have anything overloaded or on the limit. So we can see, we can see that we've got amber here for our swing bench test. So if I want to see what's happening, I can just click on make it drop down and show us more, and we can see our activity viewer, and we can see that we're constantly at a 2 threads, so this is a 2-thread swing bench. So we're at the level of the amount of threads we can run at any one time. It just happens to be on IO, but we're on amber. I think we saw on our Postgres it went to red, so if we have a look at our Postgres view, and we can see that we got a bit of load here, but our current load, well, the current load went yellow. I just pause it a second, and if we want to investigate what happened at a different period, so we can look at any second, we can see that coming into this 320 we were still green. We went to amber, we're just overloaded, and then we go to red as the load goes higher. We can see now that we're signaling on our Postgres, right? We're running PG bench here, it's just a cron job for this one. We can see that we have 3 sessions running a commit, and we have 3 sessions running updates. It's just the PG bench ones, and we can see the top sessions, what they're running. If we want to see over that period, we can highlight a view here. So we've gone from seeing one that was overloaded to seeing exactly what sessions were running, and what SQL they were running, and how many. What we actually get here as well is how many is completed in this period we selected. So you can see almost 6,000 commits have happened in that period. If we look just over this period here, we can see that we've got almost 6,000 commits, 3,000 updates. If we look, so we can see that this one is overloaded at the moment, so this is an Oracle database as well, and we can see that our locked sessions will move from none into a locking scenario. I can see that 17 sessions running this this job here, and we can also see what the root blocker was. We can see what locks it held at that time and who was all blocked, so we can see all the locking history. We can have a little look at the aggregate of those sessions. We can see who was the root blocker, who was blocked, what they were doing. What other ones we got here? We've got some table locks, so we can have a look at our table locks. Well, we can see that we haven't got any table locks. Maybe one neat thing as well is we can go from here to a 24-hour view, so we can see all from this CloudWatch dashboard all the way back, and we can see at 11 that we have some table locking. Here we can see what locks were, who was blocked, what they were doing, what the updates were. We can have a look over a period of time. What we can also do is, if we wanted to have a little closer look at 2 of our databases we were monitoring. we can see there's no table locks. But what we're displaying here is we've actually got Postgres and Oracle monitoring at exactly the same time. See, is anything running on the repository? And we can have a look in the repository. That's also Postgres. Okay, we can see here that our Postgres is running and has got some load on it, and we're monitoring it all at the same time as we're viewing Oracle Standard databases. If I go back into having a look at, well, one of the busiest ones, which is in amber all the time, if I wanted to see for a region what was happening, so I can see for this selection here that 6 of these have been finished. We can see the sessions that are running, so obviously it's a 2-session swing bench. If we wanted to have a look down now all the way through this aggregate view down to what the actual session was doing, we can see that it's virtually all user I/O. We can click on that and we can see the details of that session. Swing bench load generator. This is the period we're looking at. We can see what module was set. We can see the event breakdown, what was on CPU, what was I/O, and then we can see the SQL breakdown, the amount of seconds things were running for. If I just clear the filters, and then we can see the actual raw data or the raw samples at that time, and we've got the p-values as well, so we can see, narrow it back to what data file was being read. DB parallel read, for example, if we wanted to see when the sequential read was, we can click on this and we can see the different SQLs that were running DB sequential read. If we wanted to see when the different SQLs were running, we can click here and we can see the seconds that was running. If we wanted to have a little look more at how our lock details are displayed, so we have a look at this one, which has got some samples where it was the root blocker. We can see that this was a job running. We can see the event breakdown, the SQL breakdown when it was a root blocker, so we might want to investigate that this was the root blocker. We can click on the seconds it was holding a root lock. We can see what SQL it was running, and we can actually see the locks that were held at that second by that root blocker, and we can see that it's got a blocking lock. If we go back to our swing bench to have a little look to show how we can drill down to see what was happening at the SQL level. So for that SQL ID, we have for our total across all, how many times it's run, time per execution. We can break it down by child or plan activity, but this just happens to be one. At this, for our selected range, we've got 104 busy or active sessions. We can go down here and we can see the activity at any given time. So we can see that our average sessions running the query is 2 over this time. We can see the SQL text. We can see the plan. We can even see our access and filter predicates for that line of the plan, all just from this view, from just a couple of clicks from the CloudWatch. We've only got one plan and one child, but we also then have a SQL history, so to see if it was performing differently, if it was spiking. For example, for this 5 minutes, it's not that much difference, but it was taking 20 seconds rather than 16 or even 14. So some of the busy periods we might want to investigate. And of course, if we look at our PG bench, we look at these ones here, and again, this is all real time. We look at our busiest session. and again we have our event breakdown, but these of course are Postgres events. So we can see that our PG bench was doing mostly write locks. That's why it comes under the system IO, or the LW lock, which is an IO lock. We can see the SQL breakdowns, event breakdowns when it was idle, transactional ID. So what we can see there is our total breakdown of all the sessions. If we wanted to have a look at the SQL now, again we were looking at Oracle just a second ago, and we don't collect so much, or there isn't so much information for Postgres, but this is Postgres 11, so it has some negative SQL IDs, which seems a bit strange. But since we've been running, we can see rather a lot of execution starts, because this is more of a lots of small transactions. You can see the elapsed time, CPU time, and then also again we've got how many sessions we're running this SQL at any time. We've got what the SQL text is, and again we've got for Postgres this time the amount that were run in 5-minute snapshots. So we can see if anything was happening, if there was any skew, but we can see that it's all relatively average. But what we can see as well is if we so we're looking at the swing bench running, we can have Postgres running. So we've got real-time mixed database vendor monitoring, with a few clicks down to seeing exactly what was happening, all the way down to the actual event or the SQL details, the amount running in a period. We can select 1 second, see exactly what was going on. We can look at the start of when our status was changing. We've also got, so even from this real-time view, we can just nip straight to a 24-hour view, and we can see 5-minute buckets of average active sessions. And again from here, if we see a little bit more work, we can go down, we can select a range, we can select a second, we can select a session, so we can go from a 24-hour view down to exactly one view, 1 second view for one process, what it was doing. We can do that with Oracle. We can do this with Postgres. This is a Postgres view of 24 hours. We can go down to a 5-minute view. We can look at that 5-minute view. We can look at a second. We can look at each event for one process on that Postgres server. We can go down and look at the SQL that was running, all the stats, all the different timing over 5-minute views. We can see that we have slightly different active sessions. You know, loads mean different to different databases. We're just running a few benchmarks against all these databases. Again, if we've got a locking problem, we can look at a 24-hour view. We can see when our locking problem happened. We can see from when there was no locks to the first second there was locks, to the root blocker, to the locks held by the root blocker, to what the root blocker was doing, what all the block sessions were doing, what they were trying to do. We can even have a look at the SQL that they were trying to run. I mean, if we look at the root blocker, we can get that second up, we can get that SQL. We can see what SQL it was running. So we can go all the way from our CloudWatch over different vendors, over 24 hours, over real time. down to the second, down to what each session was doing, all our SQL stats over time, and this is what DBS with a CloudWatch dashboard gives you. You can also set up any of your other dashboards you wanted. If you just wanted a little Postgres, if you just wanted to monitor a system that just happened to have an Oracle database and a Postgres database, we can have the real-time view of that one. We can have the activity viewer, or we can have the full view. And that was a quick look at DBS, Database Scout with a CloudWatch view. We can see, well, in this example we've gone to the full view where we've got the activity viewer with the two drop downs, and if we had a slightly bigger monitor we could have the same with our Postgres as well, or just our activity view at the top. Okay, thanks guys, hope you're interested. If you're interested in something like this, then drop me a line. Okay, thanks, bye.